This is a shortened version of the original paid member exclusive video. You can access the full unedited version along with other paid member exclusive articles, access to the community chat, and paid member exclusive collaborations on the Urban Odyssey Substack for $8 a month or $70 for a yearly membership. Thanks, guys. The Trinity of Enslavement. So this is the first element, spins and splices. That's the camouflage. The pyramid is the structure, and Mahonism, the veneration of secrecy and harvest. Saturn, Cain, as I'm going to show you, Cain was the patron of this religion that they are practicing today. Backstab and kill your friends and sell out people around you. Take the 30 pieces of silver like Judas, or choose Barabbas, and where you know the truth but you still choose to do the wrong thing that will hurt you. It will hurt you, and so you know what you should do, you just don't do it, and so you're choosing Barabbas. You know, they knew, but we'll just go with that option. And we all know what we're doing at the end of the day, and so it causes this double mind. That's what the metaverse is about. It is about that same double-mindedness. And that's why it's so insidious.
In other words, the central authority moves forward with their agenda, their private agenda that they decided with no transparency and no discussion. And so the Rand Corporation says spin cycle has to do with whatever can paralyze a society into inaction, whether it be entertainment or fear-based or terrorism. They have dozens, if not hundreds, of ways to pacify and control the society, while the central authority then moves forward with their next step of progress. Now, I am more of a subscriber of SPLICE, SPLICE, because I think that the society that we live in today, through no fault of our own, born into, is SPLICE. SPLICE is segmented, polycentric, loosely integrated, coordinated entities. In other words, you have things like the FDA, and we have people like Anthony Fauci over at the Health Institute, the National Institute of Health, the NIH, and we have clowns like Robert Francis Kennedy Jr., who allegedly is an anti-vaxxer, or, you know, he's concerned about vaccine injuries. He's not concerned about it. He's married to a pro-COVID occultist, Cheryl Hines. So clearly he's not interested in anything to do that's a departure from the World Economic Forum and the United Nations and the World Health Organization, which is pro-vaccines. And that's 80 vaccines for children under 18 years old. 80. I think it's just been recently suggested it should be 78 or 79 vaccines. That's Robert Kennedy Jr. He's a proponent of vaccination inoculations. That means he's New World Order.
But I did an expose on this topic, Mahonism, and the Masters Mahan podcast is a really good introduction to these topics, and it was very helpful to me. I did the video versions of the podcast because I thought the content was very high level and needed visuals, and I was kind of using it as study material at the time. The author of the Masters Mahan podcast, Thomas Wolfe. Mahonism, nobody knows this word. The word Mahonism, or Mahan, is a Mormon term.
All these Judases stand as examples of Cain, who betrayed his own brother Abel at the altar of the Lord, and thus became the first Mahanist, the first of the Masters Mahan. Masonry functioned on the belief that they had inherited what was left of the sacred rites of Solomon's temple. While modern Masons claim today that they don't believe that, it is important to understand that all Masons before 1930 did believe it, and emphatically. In fact, they claimed that they were all that was left of the ancient rites of Solomon. They lamented, in point of fact, that over the centuries they had lost the last great secret of those that had been passed down. And so they simply chose to call this missing information the Mahabone. Pull out the sacred Bet, and you have Mahan, Mahan, the forbidden secret.
And it's very interesting that this is such a niche term, and it's almost curious, but turns out it's connected. Mahonism is the spiritual software. It's the secret keeping that juxtaposition and I discuss. Running the machine. It is the ideology of the capstone. Master Mahan, which sounds like Master Mason, originating from the title claimed by Cain after his pact with Satan, masters of the secret combination. Mahonism is a dark priesthood dedicated to gaining power and wealth through the destruction of life and the hoarding of knowledge. Gatekeeping Gnosis. Master Mahan is one who gatekeeps knowledge, who grows a harvest. The core tenet is that knowledge or gnosis allows one to control others. This aligns perfectly with the Masonic pyramid structure where secrets are sold degree by degree. This is the Brotherhood of Death. This is the Covenant of Death. Quite literally, from the beginning, the secret combination is a pact to kill for gain and to cover one another's crimes. This is the omerta of the mafia and the oath of secrecy in Freemasonry. It is the binding force that holds the pyramid together and prevents the spin from unraveling. The original video here.
The following is from the Book of Moses, chapter 5, one of Mormonism's additional scriptures offering extended details on the Genesis story of Adam and Eve, along with their children Cain and Abel. Verses 29 through 31 read, And Satan said unto Cain, Swear unto me by thy throat, and if thou tell it, thou shalt die. And swear thy brethren by their heads, and by the living God, that they tell it not, for if they tell it, they shall surely die. And this, that thy father may not know it. And this day I will deliver thy brother Abel into thine hands. And Satan sware unto Cain that he would do according to his commands. And all these things were done in secret. And Cain said, Truly I am Mahan, the master of this great secret, that I may murder and get gain. Wherefore Cain was called Master Mahan, and he glorified in his wickedness. Interestingly enough, the similarities between these verses from the Book of Moses and the Freemasonic oath taken by all initiates are eerily similar.
In addition to my former obligations, that I will always hail, forever conceal, and never reveal any of the secret parts or points, of the hidden mysteries of Freemasonry, appertaining to the degree of Master Mason, to any person under the canopy of heaven, except it be to a true and lawful brother of this degree, or within the body of a just and legally constituted lodge of Master Mason.
Wherefore instructed,
Finding myself under no less a penalty than that of having my body severed in twain. I vow bowels taken thence,
my bowels taken thence,
and burned to ashes,
and burned to ashes,
and the ashes cast
and the ashes cast
to the four winds of heaven.
to the four winds of heaven,
That no more remembrance
that no more remembrance
may be had of me
may be had
among men and nations forever.
among men and nations forever.
God,
So help me God,
and keep me steadfast
and keep me steadfast
in the due observance of this,
in the due observance of this,
my solemn obligation
my solemn obligation
as a master mason.
as a master mason.
Now, tap your hand.
Interesting. So, in Freemasonry, the word that is used as this stand, it's like a stand-in word, because they have what's called that which is lost, and that this is the obelisk. The obelisk, Osiris, is dismembered into 14 pieces, and Isis, his wife, finds all 13 except the phallus, which is that which is lost. They are seeking that which is lost. That is one of their phrases, their tokens. They go from west to east, and then from east back to the west in search of that which is lost, and it is the obelisk. And Jesus said that he came to save that which is lost, or those who are lost. But it's interesting word. The Bible absolutely does mention Freemasonry. Most certainly does. A wicked man who speaks with his feet and his fingers, winks with his eyes. Yeah, it's a Freemason. So, this word, Mahabone, it's another way, but Mahabone sounds a lot like Mahan. And turns out when you put it in Hebrew, Mahabone, but then you remove the Beth. Again, Hebrews, you read it from right to left. So M-H-B-N, and there's no vowels in Hebrew either. And then Mahan, if you remove the Beth, Mahan. The term Mahan comes from Mormonism, the pearl of great price. And it is interesting as Joseph Smith was a Freemason. He was absolutely a Freemason. The LDS temple rites are modeled after similar rites in Freemasonry. And to go even further, Joseph Smith said that an angel had given him the lost secret code words of the final degrees. Isn't that interesting? Right here. It's in the book Brigham Young. Masonry was always popular with the Mormons until Joseph Smith claimed that an angel of the Lord had brought him the lost key words of the several degrees, enabling him to progress further than the highest Masons. That's interesting. Guys, if you like our content, please feel free to share it anywhere with a friend or somebody you know, as we are heavily shadow banned, and make sure to like and subscribe on whatever platform you're watching on, as it really helps us out a lot. Thank you, guys. Alright, so now we can go to this short excerpt, chapter 5, and I can't remember the name of the book, but I'll put the source in the description or wherever. The chapter 5 is titled Cain's Connection with Freemasonry. It's very interesting. This is 15 pages total. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But it's actually a very widely known, they don't like to talk about it, but it's very widely known within LDS Mormonism that Joseph Smith was a Freemason, and that this is satanic. They've talked about this plenty. Let's see. And Satan said unto Cain, Swear unto me by thy throat, and if thou tell it, thou shalt die. And swear thy brethren by their heads, and by the living God, that they tell it not. For if they tell it, they shall surely die. And this, that thy father may not know it. And in this day I will deliver thy brother Abel into thy hands. And Satan sware unto Cain, that he would do according to his commands, and all these things were done in secret. And Cain said, Truly I am Mahan, which is kind of a term of great. Truly I am Mahan, master of this great secret, that I may murder and get gain. Wherefore Cain was called Master Mahan, Master Mason, and he gloried in his wickedness. The book that I just showed you was Brigham Young right here. Let's see. It talks about the fact that Mormonism was very, a lot of Freemasons within Mormonism. The Book of Mormon was published in 1830, 12 years before Joseph Smith became a Mason. In that same year, the Book of Moses was revealed to him as an introductory chapter or preface to the Bible. It is very significant that most of the material in these two books about Cain and his participation in secret societies is verified by ancient Masonic traditions. First, let us quote without comment from the Book of Mormon on this subject. Okay, so then we can come back over to our presentation here. I'm not going to go through all these just for the sake of time, but you can pause and read them, and the link will be down here. Yeah, there's a bunch of similarities between Mormonism and Freemasonry. This is from a speech that was given by, I guess, an elder of the LDS Church. I will read. When Adam and Eve were driven from the Garden of Eden, the Lord told Adam, "In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread." Adam really had only one choice as to his life's work. He began to till the earth. He clearly had some challenges, but his work environment had some advantages as well. Among others, he was able to set his own hours and approve his own sick leave and vacation time, and he could not be fired. Because pride can exist only in an environment of competition and comparison, it was unknown to Adam. There was no temptation to keep up with neighbors. There was no coveting, jealousy, envy, selfishness, or any other sins that feed on pride. In fact, Satan had little with which to work. The competition he so anxiously awaited could not take place until Adam and Eve began to multiply and replenish the earth. When competition finally did occur, it happened in the workplace and in the acquiring of material possessions. It was here that Satan claimed Cain as his first victim when Cain fell prey to the Master Mahan principle, that I may murder and get gain. That's the source for that. The Necrotic Domestication Protocol. The trajectory of human history is not an ascent towards enlightenment, but a calculated descent into necrotechnic farming. The convergence of genetic manipulation, downbreeding, and the rise of predatory priest classes has engineered a species that worships its own demise. We are not living, we are merely gestating for the harvest. I want to give a shout out to the channel Windows on the World. These two videos kind of helped me formalize the slides and topic here. So please do check these videos out and give that channel a follow. The atrophy of the God spark. The sources indicate that humanity did not evolve from apes, rather we are devolved residue of a higher order, systematically crippled to serve as a slave race. 1. The loss of the psi gene. In the transition from hunter-gatherer societies to agricultural slave societies, natural selection and deliberate breeding eliminated the primary and secondary psi genes. These genes coded for high-functioning neural pathways and paranormal abilities such as telepathy, remote viewing, and more, that allowed early man to interface directly with the cosmos. The agricultural civilization model favored the dull, the strong-backed, and the obedient, effectively breeding out the divine spark from the general population. Reptilian override. The reptilian brain, the brainstem, or the R complex, is the seat of survival and fear. The elite have genetically and socially engineered humanity to operate almost exclusively from this primitive node. By keeping the population in a permanent state of trauma and survival anxiety, the higher brain functions such as conscience, logic, and spiritual connection are bypassed. The human becomes a reactive bio-machine driven by binary command, survive or die. Genetics and useless eaters. The current ruling class, or the new man, quote-unquote, or Nephilim bloodlines, view the general population not as fellow beings but as livestock. They are actively engaged in dysgenetic breeding out of rebellious traits and breeding in docility and dependency to create a subservient caste that will eventually be culled when automation makes their labor redundant.
So a lot of people emailed about how he said that if he died, he wanted to come back as a virus to kill people, to kill off the population. And we've talked,
What?
yeah, we've talked about this in the past.
I don't remember this.
Yeah, we have. Now, he never said this, but he did write in his 1986 book, People as Animals, and I quote from the book, in the event that I am reincarnated, I would like to return as a deadly virus to contribute something to solving overpopulation. And while and of course, I was looking for a clip because I knew we discussed this, and I'm like, if we talked about this, then there's a clip. And there is a clip of Prince Philip from 1984. It's not this, as I said, it was written in his book, but you can kind of hear that this was his thinking.
What do you think are the most serious issues faced by conservationists and World Wildlife Fund over the next 20 years or so? 95% of the whole of the Atlantic rainforest in Brazil has disappeared in the last 100 years. There is simply nowhere for these animals to live. At the basis of it all is this colossal increase in the human population. It's one of the living species of the planet, but it's reaching plague proportions.
Just adding that to the mix of how these people think. So if you
hold on a sec. That explains why his son is such a nut just like that.
Yes, of course.
He got it from the old man.
I got it by watching you, okay?
Wow.
Mm-hmm. But this
I never could figure out why. What's his name? The
Charles.
Next king, Charles.
Charles.
I never could. I've just listened to Charles on and off, and he sounds like a lunatic. He sounds like one of those British nutballs who just talks about, the planet, the population. Yeah. The way he speaks, it just sounds like he's an idiot. And I could never figure out where he got this from. And now I realize that's where he got it from.
Genetic, baby.
It's not genetic. The old man was just, obviously, he was his father and he drummed it into him.
No, it's, I don't want to sound bigoted, but it's the Germans,
Okay, don't sound bigoted, but tell us how you feel.
Well, it's the old German bloodlines. That's what those guys were all about. And we know that this huge group, many of whom are still alive today and advising the Biden government, Biden himself, these are population bomb people. They truly, if you think it's, all right.
The priest class, these are the Wardens. With the genetic hardware crippled, the software of enslavement was installed by the priest class, Brahmins, the Levites, and the Egyptian priesthood, the Magi, amongst others. These were not spiritual guides, they were psychological wardens, they are parasites. The intermediary trap. The priesthood established itself as the sole filter between the degraded human and the divine. They replaced divine providence, direct connection, with ritual law, by convincing the masses that they were unworthy to approach the source directly. They monetized salvation and weaponized guilt. The Hyksos infiltration in ancient Egypt, an assumed priest class, possibly the Hyksos or shepherd kings, infiltrated the culture and imposed a strict, neurotic control system. They instituted the bio-robotization of the population through trauma such as circumcision on the 8th day to trigger the pain/brain connection and obsessive ritualism. Capture of the divine spark. The ultimate goal of these black magicians is to capture the divine spark, the soul or energy, the spirit, the breath of the human battery. Through spirit cooking, such as blood rituals and the consumption of the life force, adrenalized blood and flesh, the elite feed on the energy of the masses. They view the human soul not as something to be liberated, but as fuel,
a fuel source to extend their own physical immortality, or to empower their thought form gods called egregores. Fear mechanism, monetizing terror. Fear is the frequency of the prison. It is the mechanism by which the priest class herds the genetically modified population into the pen of life after death. Understand, fear is like the coal that we're shoveling into like an old steam engine. You know, you have a worker who just constantly shovels coal in to keep the train going. Death as the ultimate idol. By stripping man of his immortality through the lie of the fall or the suppression of gnosis, the priesthood made death the central focus of existence. The fear of annihilation or eternal torture, hell, became the whip. The entire civilization of Egypt was a death cult, where the populace spent their entire lives toiling to provide grave goods and tombs for the elite, believing their own survival in the afterlife depended on the preservation of the system. Judgment racket, the invention of the weighing of the heart, or the fires of purgatory, allowed the priesthood to sell insurance against the afterlife. If you obeyed the priest, paid the tithe, and performed the ritual, you might survive the terror of death. This kept the population docile and focused on the next world, preventing them from seizing power in this one. Trauma-based compliance. Fear triggers the dissociative state. When a human is traumatized through threats of hellfire, ritual abuse, or societal collapse, the mind splits. The priesthood/elite rush into this vacuum with a solution, such as salvation, safety, order, which the victim accepts uncritically to escape the pain. This is the essence of mind control, creating a problem, such as the fear of death, to sell a solution. Slavery to the priest.
Lucifer Satan is not powerful enough to be everywhere at once, and so he uses his army of demons to spread his lies. Since less than 1% of humanity understands how this works, let's change that now by entering the gates of Oz. It is important to know one's enemy. Let's step into the darkness by entering the gates of Oz with the Luciferian passphrase.
Who are you? Who are you?
There is a sixth dimension beyond that which is known by most men. It is a dimension shared by the slaves of mind control. It is the lowest ground to which some have descended, and it lies at the pit of man's desire to control another. This is the dimension of trauma-induced terror, where all of the cataloged personalities and demons live, and the master can call the one needed to possess a slave for a particular task. It is an area that we call the Who Are You zone.
The result is a meta world. The synthesis of these factors creates a society that is effectively dead while alive. The waiting room. Life is devalued as a merely preliminary trial or a valley of tears. The human potential to create paradise on earth is sabotaged because all human energy is directed towards making it to the other side. The energy farm. While the masses pray and suffer, generating vast amounts of emotional energy, Lush, which is actually the breath of God, the spirit. Through their fear and devotion, the gods or interdimensional parasites and their earthly agents feast. The death cult is not about honoring the dead, it's about harvesting the living. They're death eaters, God eaters. They feed on it. The final culling. The ultimate expression of this system is the depopulation agenda. The elite, believing that they have extracted what they need and possessing the technology to replace human labor, now seek to phase out the useless eaters. Through war, disease, and manufactured scarcity, viewing this mass sacrifice as a rite of passage into their own golden age.
Hell is actually more like,
welcome to Costco, I love you. Welcome to Costco, I love you. Welcome to Costco, I love you.
in terms of law and order, and more like
Walt Disney's Disneyland. Each week as you enter this timeless land, one of these many worlds will open to you. Frontierland, tall tales and true from the legendary past. Tomorrowland, promise of things to come. Adventureland, the wonder world of nature's own realm. Fantasyland, the happiest kingdom of them all.
in terms of distraction and amusement. We know that we are rattling an ancient paradigm, but since we know that we are 100% correct, and since knowledge is power,
knowledge is power,
you're going to be grateful that you heard us out, even if you don't believe all of what we are saying right now. You will eventually come to see, at your death, that we have told you the truth.
Spirit, whose lonely grave is this?
Why, yours, Ebenezer. The richest man in the cemetery.
Please.
When a person dies, they find themselves in the world of the dead. Those in the know, who are drawn to a desire for rest and peace, and who have lived a godly life, will seek the spiritual Garden of Eden, which the Greeks call the Elysian Fields. If you can convince the guards, you will be welcomed in.
None shall pass.
What?
None shall pass.
I have no quarrel with you.
None shall pass.
But I must cross this bridge.
None shall pass.
Stand aside.
I move for no man.
But before your gain is admitted, you will be tempted by something very difficult to avoid: Lucifer's magic kingdom.
Oh boy!
Within the world of the dead is an enormous emerald city.
Come with me to the...
Although it might be better described as an ancient Babylonian bazaar, we might say an enormous carnival. Satan is its proprietor. He set it up for a very devious, demonic reason.
Step up, ladies and gentlemen.
Its sole purpose is to extend your sins, waste your time, and distract you away from the coming day of judgment, which is coming.
Hurry, hurry, step this way, the strange distraction.
The Lord has warned all of us that we will all be resurrected and face the day of judgment for our actions on the earth. Those who have sought forgiveness and repented of their sins and placed their faith in Jesus Christ will find that His grace is sufficient at the Father's judgment. But one must choose this. The long...
Have you ever asked God for forgiveness? That's a tough question. I don't think in terms of, I'm a religious person. Shockingly, because people are so shocked when they find this out. I'm Protestant, I'm Presbyterian, and I go to church and I love God and I love my church. And Norman Vincent Peale, the great Norman Vincent Peale was my pastor. The power of positive thinking. Everybody's heard of Norman Vincent Peale. He was so great. He would give a sermon, you never wanted to leave. Sometimes we have sermons, every once in a while we think about leaving a little early, right? Even though we're Christian. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, Frank, would give a sermon. I'm telling you, I still remember his sermons. It was unbelievable. And what he would do is he'd bring real life situations, modern day situations into the sermon. And you could listen to him all day long. When you left the church, you were disappointed that it was over. He was the greatest guy. And then, he passed away, but he was a great. He wrote The Power of Positive Thinking, which is a great book.
But have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
I'm not sure I have. I just go on and try and do a better job from there. I don't think so. I think if I do something wrong, I think I just try and make it right. I don't bring God into that picture. I don't. Now, when I take, when we go to church and when I drink other wine, which is about the only wine I drink, and have my little cracker, I guess that's a form of asking for forgiveness. And I do that as often as possible because I feel cleansed, okay? But, to me that's important. I do that. But in terms of officially, I could say absolutely, and everybody, I don't think in terms of that. I think in terms of let's go on and let's make it right.
The longer one can be distracted, tempted to exacerbate the sins they have, and linger away from Christ's mercy, will find that they will run out of time. This is hell's only purpose.
Oh, my dearie biscuits! I'm late, I'm late, I'm late!
Those unable or unwilling to convince the guards at the gate of rest will find that they are free to wander in limbo, as the Catholics might call it. But more likely, since human beings are socially motivated creatures,
You get the whole show now if you hurry, hurry, hurry!
they will find themselves interested in Satan's version of Disneyland. Those willing to pay Lucifer's price there will find that they are given more and more privileges. It is exactly like YouTuber Dougie Corrado and a friend discovered years back in the wealthy hills above Los Angeles when he, with some joy, was tapped to join the powerful entertainment elite.
This is the final section, the metaverse. Met means dead in Hebrew. While the public is told meta comes from the Greek for beyond, the Codex requires us to look into the language of creation, Hebrew, used by the occult elite to code their reality. Linguistic fact. In Hebrew, the word met means dead or corpse. The feminine form, meta, literally translates to she is dead or dead woman. There's a variety of interpretations for that, but Lady Zion being the bride of Christ, the church, the feminine, Jesus is the groom, obviously. Those come together. Jesus marries the church, the bridegroom of Sinai or Zion. And so perhaps she is dead or dead woman. The whore of Babylon, all of that. It's where it gets interesting. Golems. The archives reveal the Kabbalistic ritual of creating a golem, an artificial soulless life form. To animate the clay statue, the rabbi writes Emet, or Aleph, Mem, and Teth, truth, on its forehead. To kill or deactivate it, the first letter Aleph, representing God or life, is erased, leaving Met, dead. Implication: by labeling the digital future meta, the architects are explicitly removing the Aleph, the divine spark, from the human equation. They are designating the digital realm as the domain of the soulless golem. It is a declaration that the participants in this system are dead to the spiritual world. This is a depiction of the golem. Here is a better view of it, and if you could see the Aleph and the little bottle there, and does say the same right here on the New World Encyclopedia. Okay, so this is from the Encyclopedia of Occultism and Parapsychology. A golem is an artificial man-monster of Jewish legend created from clay by magic religious ceremony. The word golem was first used in Talmudic references to the creation of Adam to indicate formless matter before the inception of a soul. Talmudic stories of the 3rd and 4th centuries suggest that certain rabbis might have been able to create a man-like creature by magic that followed the divine process of creation. In medieval Kabbalist legends, such stories revolved around the symbolism of the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Creation, in which numbers and letters are associated with parts of the body and astrological correspondences. So basically, programming or coding. Let's see, I'm not going to read all of this. In the 16th century, such legends crystallized around Rabbi Judah Loew of Prague, who was said to have created a golem who not only worked as a servant but also saved the Jews from persecution arising from false accusations of ritual murder. The tomb of Rabbi Loew may still be visited in the old Jewish cemetery of Prague and Czechoslovakia. In the 17th century, such stories were recorded in a manuscript titled Nifloet Merl, which Miracles of Rabbi Loew, which formed the basis of the enchanting Der Prager Golem of Chaim Bloch, translated into English by Harry Schneiderman as The Golem Legends of the Ghetto of Prague. And interesting, we have Frankenstein connection too. Zombie apocalypse.
archives describe a specific spiritual condition known as the living dead, biological entities that function but lack the divine connection. The unbegun. Source documents explicitly state that the elite refer to the general human population as the dead. They view the masses as animated clumps of matter with no activation of higher consciousness. Because the masses are already dead, the elite feel absolved of moral responsibility for their enslavement. Sleepwalkers. This aligns with the ancient Egyptian concept of the living dead. Those who are socially isolated, greedy, or spiritually asleep. They are dead while alive, because they have severed the connection to Mot, or truth and order. The zombie state. The current cultural obsession with zombies and the walking dead is not entertainment. It is a reflection of the spiritual reality. The population has been dumbed down and chemically lobotomized using spike proteins, which is actually, we do have proof of that. You can see the work of Dr. Peter Breggin, who actually did help a long time ago. He's very old, to end the practice of lobotomy in the United States. And so during the COVID pandemic, he comes out and says, spike proteins are scarring the brain tissue, so it's a chemical lobotomy. Chemically lobotomized into a state of hypnotic comatose, functioning as biological machines, bio-robots, rather than sovereign souls. Magical binding. The use of the word meta in popular culture is a magical binding. It is a tag on the toe of humanity. Declaration of status. By accepting the meta identity, the user consents to the status of met, dead. They agree that they are a golem, a soulless vessel to be programmed by the master using central bank, digital currencies, and social credit scores. It is an inversion of life. The elite have inverted the dynamic. They seek to make the artificial, the digital, or the meta immortal, while making the biological, the human, obsolete and dead. The final ritual, the transition to the meta phase of civilization, is the erasing of the Aleph. It is the final stage of the great work, where humanity is severed from the creator and sealed inside a box, a cube/screen labeled dead. The AI is the spaceship, because, you know, if they build enough underground data centers like they are doing under the Trump ballroom, if they build a couple under Greenland, under the ice, then they can upload everybody into the computer using blockchain and genomics. Using blockchain and genomics, which is a area of most importance. They are looking at how to put genomes into cryptocurrency and blockchain. And so if they can upload everybody to the AI, put everybody into the computer, and then basically just blow up the world, because we don't need these pesky physical meat suits anymore. Put everybody into the AI, and then we can live forever in the digital meta realm of the dead. And so, as you could see, the Tower of Babel, the tower that they built to heaven so that they could usurp or wage war on God, is what we're doing now. We're trying very fast to finish the tower at all costs, or reach the singularity, so that we can wage war on God and take over the ledger of life, the universal digital ledger. But you see, the tower that they're building, the quantum computer, is going down. It's going the other way. It's inverted. And that's the idea of this meta world. That's why they got to put everybody into the realm of the dead, because yes, they know that they are building a tower down to hell, and that they are destroying the world, and that they are basically going to exterminate humanity. But it's all okay, because we're going to put everybody into the meta world, and we're going to invert true into false and men into women and good into bad, and so it will be okay. They do understand that they are building the tower down to hell, but see, they think they will be able to trick God, basically. They know this AI God entity as Maitreya. And Elon says on January 4th, 2026 that we've entered the singularity, and I don't know anymore, and maybe we have with all of the crazy stuff going on. Until next time, guys, take care.